100 yards to go. By the confused camper. The Midtown Saints were legends. Year after year, they dominated the league, always youthful, always unstoppable. Their plays were sharp, their passes perfect, their speed unmatched. It was as if time itself had no hold on them. The fans adored them, always chanting their names, painting their faces on banners, and worshiping their flawless victories. But there was something strange about the Saints, something no one could quite put their finger on. After every game, when the crowds had long since left the stadium, the team would make their way to the locker room. It was an old, dingy room tucked in the back of the stadium, but the Saints never complained. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and victory. But there was a tension too, a quiet dread that hung over the players as they entered. It wasn't until the door shut behind them, locking them in, that the transformation began. They didn't speak of it. They couldn't. It was a curse, and they all knew it. The instant the door clicked shut, their bodies would begin to change. They could feel it in their bones first. Sharp aches, a tightness in their joints. Their muscles, once so full of power, began to wither. Their skin, taut and youthful, sagged and wrinkled as though decades of life had suddenly crashed upon them. Their faces crumbled into old weathered flesh, their eyes losing the fire they once had. In mere moments, the young, strong athletes the world adored were reduced to fragile, stooped old men, their backs bent, their hands trembling, but they never talked about it. They couldn't. They couldn't tell anyone. Not the fans, not the coaches, not their families. No one knew. They would sit in silence in the locker room, staring at their wrinkled hands and gray hair. Some of them cried. Some of them simply stared at the floor, but it was always the same. The transformation. The price they paid for their eternal youth. The worst part was that they couldn't remember how it had started. How long they had been trapped in this cycle. They could recall the first season, the first game, but after that, everything blurred. It was as if they were stuck in a loop, forever playing the game, forever winning, but forever losing themselves. Then, just before dawn, the change would reverse. They would stumble back into the showers, their aching bodies rejuvenated. When they left the locker room, they would be young again, strong, fast, and invincible. They would step back onto the field, smiling for the cameras, looking every bit the same as they did the year before. The fans never noticed. They couldn't. The next season would arrive, and the cycle would begin again. The Midtown Saints would play. They would win. They would return to the locker room, become old men, and wake up young again. It was a twisted, endless cycle of victory and decay, and no one could break it. But sometimes, when they sat alone in the quiet of the locker room, some of them wondered, what would happen if they didn't come back next year? What if they just stayed as old men forever? But they never could. The game called to them, and the fans would demand their return. They were trapped, caught in a nightmare they couldn't escape. And every year, after every victory, they would once again step out onto the field, the same age, the same faces, the same endless curse. Thanks for watching, and please hit the like and subscribe buttons for more stories.